Hey guys, Mike here with EBR, and Rad Power Bikes is back, and this is a refresh of their very popular RadRunner series, and this is the RadRunner MAX. It's the highest level trim out of their 3 series of the RadRunner series. This one's got a class 1, 2, and 3 setting, a 750 watt rear hub motor with a torque sensor, and some really cool features like high-low beams and turn signals, as well as an integrated radar system that alerts you of approaching vehicles when you're riding with traffic. A very cool system, so lots to talk about. Let's jump into the new RadRunner MAX. All right guys, so the new RadRunner MAX, like I said, this is a refresh of their very popular series, and they've reintroduced them at 3 different trim levels. So the lowest level being the RadRunner, the mid tier being the RadRunner Plus, and this being the highest tier, the RadRunner MAX. Now this one is priced as the highest at $22.99. It's also UL 2849 certified and UL 2271 certified. Now this is a utility e-bike, meaning it's kind of like a cargo bike, but not quite as extended. We kind of refer to them sometimes as a short tail cargo bike, but utility bikes are just going to be that mix of a little bit downtown city commuting e-bike, but also a little bit of this modular system back here with lots of rack accessory points that you can kind of kit it out and gear it out for whatever you're tackling. Now they say this bike weighs 82 pounds. I threw it up on the scale and it came in right at 81.9, so almost dead on the money for what they put out as their estimation, which I always appreciate because a lot of times we get bikes and the weights don't always quite match up. Now this one also only comes in one color, which is this deep emerald green. It looks really nice. It's also got a metallic flake into it when the sun hits it and some orange accents with the Rad Power logos. Now it also only comes in one size that fits a wide range from 4'11" all the way up to 6'2". Now I will say there's no telescoping stem or adjustability up on the stem, and when I'm riding at 5'11", so getting close to 6'2", but not quite, and I'm finding that my hands are a little bit kind of lower than I expected. So I would think if you are up at that upper end, like 6'2", you might have kind of a low reach on this bike. Just something to keep in mind for those of you at the 6'1", 6'2" range. Everyone else, I think this will fit beautifully without any issues. Now, when it comes to some geo numbers for this frame, the wheelbase from rear hub to front hub or vice versa is going to be 46.8 inches. The standover height at the lowest point to access is 17 inches. Up top, we've got a 13.8 inch reach, which you could in theory adjust by loosening the stem bolts and just going forward or aft with that. And then you have a 420 pound payload. Now that can be made up of a couple combinations, but you can have a max rider weight of 275 pounds and then a max rear rack weight of 120 pounds. Now, when it comes to things like the tires and wheels, so we've got a 20-inch alloy wheel that's wrapped in a 20 by 3.5-inch rad tire. Now, this tire's nice. It's got a sidewall reflective strip on it, as well as a really good, like, low rolling resistance, yet kind of all-terrain, mild knobby tire tread. So this is the type of tread that's going to roll fast and smooth, but it's also going to have enough bite in almost any type of general situation, without anything extreme obviously, to handle any sorts of wet days, rainy days, snowy days, slick days, a little bit of dirt, a little bit of gravel, things like that. It can do a little bit of everything. It's a good kind of all-season / all-terrain tire. Now they say to run these between 20 and 30, as 30 being the max PSI. Personally, I don't go for range. So like if you want the maximum amount of range, then pumping your airs up really, the PSI in your tires is really gonna help extend that range out, because you're gonna have a faster rolling tire, but you're also gonna have more road chatter and road vibrations. So I tend to low air on the lower side. I like low 20s. So I might not get as much range efficiency, but I get more comfort when I'm riding. Now, in terms of things like accessories, mounting points, things like that, it does come with front to back composite or plastic fenders, which I always like seeing. And then on the rack is a part, it's a frame integrated rack, so it's not a removable rack. And that sits right here with tons of mounting accessory holes on it for all types of, whether you're securing straps, bags, pannier bags, putting a seat up top. They also sell a passenger seat kit. They also sell a passenger handlebar kit that goes up here. So they've got really a bunch of options in addition to what's already on the bike. So aside from this whole back area you can kind of modular play with and do what you want, you've also got a front basket mounting area. You've got bottle cage or accessory mounting areas on the frame, and then just this kind of endless mounting areas here on the back. So lots and lots of ways to kind of kit this out for whatever your adventure is. Now, also, they did put in some very practical and cool perks when it comes to the tech, and we'll start with the lighting. So the lighting here is a really nice system. So we've got obviously front and rear lights. That's not that big of a deal. The front being an adjustable headlight, that's good. Now the front has a high beam and low beam. So the low beam's at 450 lumens, which is already really bright. But if you want the high beams, that goes up to 750 lumens, giving you an even brighter kind of view in front of you while you're riding at night. It's a really nice setup. And then of course, we also have the braking light feature highlighting when you hit the brakes on the back end. Now, the coolest feature by far that they've added is a radar system. Now, if any of you are any kind of cyclist at home, you may have heard or may know about the Garmin Varia. It's basically a little device that goes on your bike, and it will give you like radar signals of when cars are approaching, but it's a pricey item. It can run as high as almost $400, $500, and it's an extra additional accessory you got to mount on your vehicle. But in this case, they integrated it into this light setup, and it's got its own radar built into it. And so what happens is while I'm riding the bike on city streets, as cars approach from the rear, I get a notification on the display showing me how far they are and at how fast they are approaching me, with the differential between my speed and their speed. So it's doing a lot of real-time math and giving you that data on your screen, so you're not constantly worried looking over your shoulder, you're not looking through a rearview mirror. You've got a nice setup, peace of mind right in your display. And I went and played with this quite a bit just to make sure, because I personally own a Garmin Varia for my own cycling. And when I rode this, it performed really, really well. I was really just kind of happy with it because I paid almost $400 for mine to stick it on my bike. This already comes with the bike. Just a really, really cool feature that I think anyone who gets on public streets is going to appreciate, with that peace of mind and extra layer of security. All right, guys, so the power system on the RadRunner MAX is going to be a 750 watt rear hub motor that's activated with a torque sensor. Now, Rad released a series of new torque sensors back with their Radster Trail and Radster Road series, and I don't know if this is the same, but I can tell you that that series felt really, really good, and so does this one. This feels very smooth, very natural. Rad has had a good torque sensor since that Radster Trail that I can remember, and this one feels just as good. Was pleased with it the whole time I was riding it. Never had any issues with the torque sensor. All in all, it's a really powerful system. This 750 watts plus 90 Newton meters of torque, it's able to really push, pull, haul, go up hills. It can do the work, and it can handle it well. It doesn't feel like it's struggling. It's definitely a solid, powerful bike, and it's got that planted solid feel, which I really like. And if you're doing utility type stuff, putting gear on, passengers, extra things, that's when you want that solid planted feel. And 82-pound bike with a nice powerful 750 watt motor and almost 100 Newton meters of torque, it's just really dialed in well for its job. Now, on top of that, this has 5 levels of pedal assist, so PAS 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest level of assist, 5 being the highest. And it's got 5 different class speeds. So you can do class 1, which would just be pedal assist, or class 2, pedal assist and throttle, or class 3, pedal assist, or throttle to 20, and then pedal assist all the way up to 28. But they also have a 25 mile an hour class 3, so you could reduce that class 3 setting to 25 miles an hour. And they also added a new California compliant class 3, which would omit the throttle usage. So nonetheless, regardless of where you live or how you like to ride, you've got a lot of ways to do this. They've even added also a PAS 0 to 5, so you can basically have one where the PAS is always off if you want it, and you just click it on when you want to get those levels 1 through 5. Or you can set it to 1 to 5 where it's always on, at least at level 1. Really, Matt's a long-winded way of saying you've got a lot of options of how you get your power on this bike, and I think that's good to give people more options and let them figure out what they want. Now, in terms of the battery here, this is a 48-volt battery. It's got 14 amp hours and 672 watt hours. And this battery is UL 2271 certified, and you can remove it with a set of keys. I'll show you how that works now. So each Rad bike will come with a set of keys, a spare as well, and you just put it in on this left side. And when you turn it, it'll pop that battery out. Now, Rad has always been a little bit of an innovative industry leader when it comes to battery safety. So at a minimum, we always want to see a company get their batteries UL 2271 certified, and Rad has done that, and they've done a UL 2849 on the entire bike. So they're already meeting what the industry expects, but they go above and beyond with their Safe Shield technology. Now, what this does is every single battery cell that's lined up inside of here is in its own protective thermal barrier, isolating each cell and ultimately, in theory, preventing a thermal runoff in the case that one gets too hot. Whereas if it didn't have this technology, one would get hot and then they would all eventually catch. But in these individual potted cells, it's just another layer of security that prevents any kind of unfortunate runoffs like that. So just really cool, and thought I'd share that with you guys. This is going to go back into the bike. It's almost 10 pounds, right around 9.9. put the bottom in first, and snap it right back in, and you're good to go. Now, when it comes to range, this bike has a range of 65 miles, but 60 miles, but Rad says they also have the range extender kit, which will fit right under this rear rack, and it's going to double that range to what they say could be 125 or more miles. So over 100 miles, over 120 miles, really, really solid numbers of range, and 60 miles the way it sits. So plenty of range for a bike like this. All right, guys, so let's talk components on the new RadRunner MAX. So now we have an 8-speed Shimano Alta setup right here in the back with an 8-speed derailleur and an 11-34 Shimano HG cassette. Now that's mounted to a 50-tooth chainring up front with 170mm alloy cranks and flat plastic pedals with reflectors and some studs. And then on the chainring itself, we have a double-sided chain guard to prevent things like chain grease all over your pant leg when you're riding, which is always nice to have. Now, when it comes to how that gearing setup feels on the road, pretty good. So this is something that is easy to pedal on flats. It can handle almost any hill you want because you've got 8 speeds to work with and a good wide range, and you've got all that muscle with the 750 watt motor and 90 Newton meters of torque. So really, this is a combination that even in the higher speeds, upper 20s, I wasn't ghost pedaling or spinning out with my pedals. So it's appropriate range that handles almost any type of riding you're gonna do on this bike. Really well done as well. Now, braking is handled by Gemma hydraulic disc brakes. These are 2-piston calipers with 180mm rotors front and back, but they beefed up the rotor thickness to a 2.3mm thickness, which is going to improve stopping power, brake cooling, things like that, and ultimately the longevity of the pads. So on a bike that weighs 82 pounds, it can carry over 400 pounds, you always want to have beefed up braking, and that's what they've done here. So solid job on the braking. In a perfect world, I would ask for 4-piston brake calipers, but this 2-piston with beefed up rotors is a good setup for this. And when I was braking and riding it, I never had any issues where I felt like it wasn't strong enough. Now, when it comes to the saddle up here, this is the Rad branded saddle. It's a pretty typical saddle, a little bit wider here, about 5 to 6 inches wide, and it's got nice padding on it. Saddles can be kind of a mixed bag. They can all look comfy and then maybe not feel comfy. Sometimes it looks really comfy and it's not, or sometimes it looks like it's not gonna be comfy and it is. So this is one that I thought, we'll see how it goes, and it was actually really comfy. So surprisingly good saddle on this if you're someone who likes big, soft saddles. This has a quick release with a 27.2mm thick alloy adjustability and 12 inches of range to make your fit dialed in there. Now up front, we've got an 80mm suspension fork, black stanchions. This is 80mm of travel, and you've got a lockout option. So if you want to, you can lock out that suspension from compressing. This also has through axle support and 34mm stanchions. Having a thicker stanchion, we usually see 32s, sometimes even less than that. And having a beefier stanchion on a bike that's designed to handle a little bit more weight, a little bit beefier frame like this, that's gonna keep everything nice and stiff and responsive and just handle the whole load of the bike really well. I like that they went and didn't go cheap on 32s. They went with 34s. Good job on that as well. Now here in the cockpit, so we'll start with the wiring. All the cables that come off, there is quite a bit. They are into these cable wraps and then down to the frame where they have a cover, and they run on the underside of the frame to the rest of the bike. Now on one hand, it might look a little messy up here, but on the other hand, that makes everything from an ownership standpoint and maintenance standpoint just a lot easier to access. You're not trying to pull wires and feed them through canals you can't really see. Everything is exposed and easy to access. Now here in the cockpit, we've got a 28-inch wide BMX style handlebar, and it's mounted to a 35mm rise alloy stem, kind of a stubby BMX stem. And this has ergo lock-on grips on both sides with a twist throttle on this right side here. On both ends, we also have our Gemma alloy brake levers. On the left, we have our PAS control button pad for the display, our e-bike bell, and on the right, our trigger shifters, the 8-speed Shimano with a window to show you what gear you're in. So all in all, really, really good setup, but let's take a closer look at the display. All right, so on the home screen of the display, this is the basic setup. They've done some updates to this to really clean up this front end, and it's got all your basic metrics. So up at the top, it's going to be your real-time wattage output. On the centered top left is going to be your battery percentage remaining at 95%. And then next to that is going to be the estimated range based on your current charge level. So this bike gets 60 miles range at 100%, and it's showing I'd get 58 miles at 95, so that checks out. Now over on the right is the current odometer of the bike, and the center is going to be your speed in miles per hour or kilometers if you want to change it. And down below that is going to be your PAS levels 1 to 5, or excuse me, 0 to 5. So right now you can ride the bike with no pedal assistance, or you can go to level 1 and start using pedal assistance. Something I want to show you here that's kind of unique and cool about this bike. When I go up in PAS, you'll see the range go down because it's going to start estimating based on your current PAS level how much range you have left. So if I'm not using any, I have 58 miles left. If I go to level 1, I still have 58 miles left. Go to level 2, now it drops to 49. Level 3, 33, and so on. Basically saying if I went full bore, I'd get 18 miles from right now. I don't know how true that is. I haven't done that test on it yet, but in theory, it's just giving you estimations based on where your pedal assist is in relation to how much battery percentage is remaining. Now, if you tap the M button, you will get a secondary data screen. This has your trip time, trip distance, and class level setting. Tapping it again takes you back to the home screen. Now on the control pad, you've got a couple buttons. The top is going to be your power. The bottom is going to be your high and low beam switch, which when I hit, you'll get a high beam indicator. Holding the minus button will activate walk mode. Holding the plus button will just turn off or on the lights. And then the M button is going to be the menu. And then the left and rights will turn on your turn signals based on whichever direction you're turning. Now to get into advanced settings, you'll hold the M button. And once again, true to kind of 2025, we've seen more just easy to read displays with no more secret menus, which is great. So the first one in here is going to be reset trip distance. The next one's going to be changing between those classes. Again, we have class 1, class 2, a class 3 limited to 25, a true class 3 limited to 28, and then a California class 3, which would also omit that throttle usage. Now going down to units, again, miles or kilometers per hour. Brightness, you can make it auto or just leave it on one of the settings between 1 and 5. Security, here you're going to enter security and you'll want a passcode. I just have a 0000 for right now. You'll set your own on your bike. So now you have lock screen. You can turn on and have a lock screen in place if the bike turns on, which you'll be able to unlock with a PIN code or by putting your fob. You just swipe your fob over it, almost like entering a gym at your apartment complex. It's just one of those proximity fobs. And it will let you onto the bike for quick access. Now you can also go to passcode and you can modify your passcode. That was the key card I was just talking about. You can pair your NFC device for that. A digital key as well. And then you have Apple Find My. So this is going to be an integrated AirTag on this bike that already comes with it. And when you pair your phone with it, you'll be able to track it as an AirTag device. Great for security, great for theft and things like that. Or if you just want to keep track of where your bike is while a friend or family member is riding it. Down here, you can put on a guest passcode, which will give a guest a passcode to the bike unique for them, but not be your official passcode if you don't want to share that with them. And then to exit, you just simply hit the M button. Go to service here, you'll see the service menu has reminders for at 300 miles, servicing, brakes, tires, and your drivetrain. None of those are turned on right now because I won't be tracking it for the purposes of this review. So down here, the radar. So right now it's enabled. This is the feature where you can see traffic approaching from behind, but if you want to turn it off, you can always go in there and turn it off. Here you can get bike information like your controller, your display, things like that. And then that will exit you out of all the settings. So really clean, really user-friendly, and nice big bright screen that's just easy to see in all scenarios. All right, friends, we're out here on the RadRunner MAX. And when you get on this bike, the riding position is very upright, casual, relaxed. You're not forward bent over. It's not aggressive in any kind of way. It's a very casual, just cruise around ride. The seat is super comfortable. Probably one of my favorite seats that's not overly large. It doesn't look that big from a glance, but when you're sitting on it, it feels like it's a big seat. So it's a nice balance of still looking like a bike seat, but being really comfortable. So there's a lot of things to talk about on this bike. First one is its 5 riding modes. So we have this 750 watt rear hub motor with 90 Newton meters of torque, but three riding modes are going to be your typical class 1, 2, and 3. Class 2 being pedal assist and throttle to 20 miles an hour. Class 3 being pedal assist to 28 miles an hour, where the throttle still holds at 20. But they also added a 25 mile an hour class 3 and a California compliant class 3, which I'm going to go ahead and do the California compliant class 3 right now just to see what that actually does. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm going to hold the menu button, go to class, We'll go to class 3 Cali, and then we will back out. So we'll start riding again. And when I pedal, the torque sensor is doing its job, which this torque sensor feels really good. Let's use the throttle, see what happens. So no throttle, even at 10 miles an hour, 12 miles an hour, I have no throttle in California mode. Let's go ahead and go up to higher speeds. So we're at 17 miles an hour, 21 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour. So it looks like 28 miles an hour is going to be max for California compliant. It's just not going to have the throttle usage. I can't use the throttle anywhere, even as low as 10 miles an hour. So I'm going to pull over here in just a second and put it back. So let me just put it back real quick. Class 328 and exit. Now the 90 Newton meters of torque and 750 watt motor, it's obviously a powerful setup and the ability to carry 420 pounds payload. But let's see how it does on a couple little short hills. Up ahead we got a 9% grade. That's kind of steep but short. But at 9% you get a good idea of how the motor is going to handle that when it hits it. And then after we go past that, we'll enter this neighborhood up ahead that has about a quarter-mile stretch of a 5 to 7% grade that gives a better, like, longer, more drawn-out version to kind of see if it'll hold speeds on those climbs. Also, I don't know if you can hear me very well. We have a very strong crosswind today. Hopefully, the audio is coming through fine. But I'm going to just hold the throttle at 20 miles an hour. And this 9% section here will let us know how we're going to do. So we're holding at 20. Here's the sharpest part. So we went to 18 on the display, and we're back to 20 really quickly. But now let's go try that in the neighborhood on the longer climb and see what the difference is. So we'll stop at this stop sign here, and then when I make this left, that starts this hill. And like I said, it goes for about a quarter mile, so we'll have a good distance to kind of gauge this. And I'm just going to hold the throttle the whole way. So this all is uphill straight ahead, and we're accelerating up, no problem. I mean, it feels really powerful, to be honest. So we're holding 20, and it feels like it's even dialing itself back. It feels like if there wasn't a limit at 20 miles an hour, this would keep accelerating up, which is a nice feeling. It definitely doesn't feel like it's trying at all. It feels like it's effortlessly holding 20. And just to test that out, let's go ahead and pedal, see if we can accelerate up the steepest part here. So this is the 7%. We were holding 20, no problem. And as you can see, we're accelerating 21, 22, 23, 24. Looks like 24 is going to be about the sweet spot for pedaling uphill. But 24 miles an hour accelerating to that on a 7% grade is pretty impressive. It's definitely got the power you're going to need, I would think, for most use cases. So the brakes on here are these 2-piston caliper Gemma hydraulic disc brakes. And they beefed up the thickness at 2.3 millimeters, which is a nice change. Just gonna make the pads last longer, better cooling, and ultimately longer life on the brakes. So I've got my turn signal on here for this left turn on a city street. You just hit this left button here. You'll see the indicator, and when you're done, you just hit it again. It turns it off. So if you see, turn signal's still going. So in this case, there's no auto cutoff like your car. You just hit it again and it turns off. So let's give these brakes a good check, going about a little over 20 miles an hour. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, really nice stopping power. I've said it before, I kind of always say it on bikes that are about close to 80 pounds and have high payloads and big motors. I'd like to see 4-piston calipers, but as you just saw, the brakes on here, quiet, smooth, and plenty of stopping power. You could say that 4-piston caliper thing's more of a want than a need. The nice thing about something like a RadRunner, it's just really versatile. So you've got kind of the short tail cargo rack on the back, you've got beefed up power, you've got a low step through frame, you've got an open frame design, you've got a casual seating position. It's just something that you can pick up as a bike that's going to be a bike that can handle a little bit of whatever you've got going on without committing to like a lightweight commuter bike, city bike, or some big cargo bike that you don't really want. It's kind of the nice balance of all those together. All right, and I forgot to show you guys the radar feature. So if you look at the screen, I got a car approaching behind me. That 6 mile-an-hour difference is their speed and my speed difference. So if I'm going 15, they're going 21. And as that meter gets shorter, that means the car is getting closer to passing me. So here it comes. And the car is passed. Although I have another car behind me, so the meter did not disappear. Alright, that one passed me, and there's another car. And that one has passed me. And then it went away. So as you can see, like, it does a good job of picking up on the cars, giving you their speed, and then once they're gone or past you, the radar disappears. It's a really cool setup. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys because if you ride in traffic like I do, you know you're kind of always looking over your shoulder, and this is a really nice peace of mind scenario. All right, guys, so let's take a look at the RadRunner MAX from kind of an ownership, build perspective, and maintenance standpoint. Just the things you wouldn't guess just by looking at the product page when you're shopping online. I'm gonna start with some of the things I do like, and then I'll go over a couple things that I would like to see improved on the next go-round. Now, to kick things off, so this bike, as I showed you guys on the ride quality, has the new radar technology, the rear radar that shows you traffic coming up from behind. And sometimes when we get new technology on e-bikes, especially advanced stuff like this, it tends to add a lot of extra complex wiring and placements for the modules. But this unit is just a single piece right here on the fender. It's just held on by 2 bolts on the back with a single wire going into it. So in the event you did have a problem with this, a manufacturer replacement with this, or just wanted to get it serviced or take it off for whatever reason, it's just really easy to access, to get to, without causing you a bunch of headache and issues accessing it and finding all the parts to it on the bike. Just a really clean, simple setup that actually works really, really well. Over here on the kickstand. So this is kind of a simple thing itself, but having a dual-sided beefy kickstand that's centrally mounted on a kind of a utility bike like this with a high payload that carries a big weight to it, this is a much better kickstand option than, say, a single swing-out kickstand, because often when the bikes are heavier or designed for more of a load, when you put them onto a single leg kickstand, they're just really close to tipping all the time. This just keeps the bike nice, stable, and centrally upright. So that was a good choice there. Another thing is Rad's kind of famous for this open air design of the frame. It's kind of just been their look since they came into the market, and they continued it with the RadRunner MAX, and it goes a long way for things like maintenance and care. As you can see, you can access the controller, the battery, all the wiring. Nothing is internally routed through here. It's actually under this access cover plate right here, and then it's open inside the frame. So in the event you need to run wires, you need to get things serviced, again, those little creature comforts are just going to go a long way in making sure it's easy to access all those parts, and you're not going to drive yourself crazy trying to go in there and deal with them. Up front here is another really nice feature. So we do have a suspension fork up front, but they used a through axle. It's a really nice, secure way to put this fork on the bike. It also makes it really easy to remove and replace should you need to pull a tire to replace a tire or provide some sort of maintenance to the rotors. Through axles are just a nice, easy way to access your tire, getting it on and off. And then another more important feature is the stanchion diameter here. So this is a 34 millimeter stanchion. A lot of times on e-bikes, we see them come with sometimes 29, 32, very narrow stanchions. And what that does on a bike that's meant to carry a heavy load is that can start to flex under load as you're turning. And this just keeps everything nice and stiff, keeping it nice and responsive in your cornering and handling. And it just kind of goes with the flow of the bike as it should. Now, if I was going to talk about some things that I would fix on this bike, I'll start back here again. So this fender, I do like having plastic fenders. They're lightweight, they're quiet, and they usually don't rust or have any kind of issues like metal fenders do. But in this case, you can see that wobble right there. We've got a little extra weight on this because of the new radar feature, with just a single Allen head right here from the underside holding it to the rear rack, and then one more up here and then one more in the front. But as you can see with that extra weight in the back, it just creates a little bit of too much of a wobble here for the fender. So I'd like to see like a plate reinforced going like across the back here with maybe 2 mounting points to just kind of beefing that up and tighten it up a little bit. It hasn't come off or anything like that. I can just tell already it's starting to get a little loose, and it may just start to get on my nerves over time. Now, another thing on here I did not like was so I talked about how easy it is to access cables and wiring on this bike frame, and I stand by that because that is a true just good characteristic for the bike. But in this case, the way it's shipped, some of the wires are just a little too loose and out in the open for my liking. A lot of these could just be caught up on things. So the good news is something a couple zip ties can't take care of on your own. Grab a couple zip ties, tighten these up around the edges or places where you think they'll be more secure and out of the way, and I think that's just going to go in a long way. When you're moving this bike, using this bike, it'd be easy to tie up one of these cables or snag one of them in your garage, so you could easily put those out of the way. And then finally on here, the chain guard. So we do have a double-sided chain guard, which is great for keeping the chain on the chain ring and not putting grease stains on your leg. However, anytime we have some chain slap or a chain that can wobble, you're gonna have the chain eventually start to slap the metal of the chainstay. Now, I will say on this one, it's not bad. There's a pretty good gap here, but it's already got a couple scuff marks on it, and I'd just like to see a piece of protective film put on here. But again, fortunately, if you own this bike, this is something you could pick up off Amazon for maybe a few dollars and just put that protective strip right here on the chainstay, and that's just going to protect that chain protect that chainstay when it's slapping that metal over and over when you're riding the bike. Other than that, it's kind of a utilitarian design. It's easy to access everything, easy to work on. There's no special fancy cable routing or crazy tech that's just going to be hard to work with. It's a bike that you can kind of rely on to ride, and in the event you need to service it or repair it, most of this you can even do yourself, let alone a bike shop could handle this really easy. Pretty clean, simple design, and I think it goes a long way for Rad and the overall experience with the bike. All right, guys, so there you have it, the new RadRunner MAX from Rad Power Bikes. Now, Rad Power Bikes has been in this game pretty much since the early days before other people came into it, and they're kind of one of the pioneers along with Electric and Aventon and Ride One Up and those others. They're just one of the key players that have been doing it quite a while, and they just know what they're doing. This bike, this refresh has really practical things like that radar system for people who ride through town, high and low beams, turn signals, a big payload at over 400 pounds, but best of all to me, the 3.5-inch tires and just the solid planted feel. If you're not concerned about the heft of an 80-pound bike, there's a lot of perks that come with it, and that's really that they just feel very, well, solid and planted when you ride them. I enjoyed reviewing this bike. I think the technology on it is great, and ultimately, it's going to be a good bike for anybody who's looking for a bike that can carry a lot, do a lot, and just provide them a little bit of flexibility in how they want to ride their bike. You can do everything from commuting in town to doing cargo runs or whatever it is you got to tackle. This bike can handle it, to include bringing passengers. Now, if I didn't answer any of your questions, drop them down below in the comments. I will personally find out and reply to you. And until the next review comes out, we'll see you guys out on the trail.